Hello, this is Gio. Hey, look what I have here. I have an old Magnavox AM FM combo radio cassette recorder. Now my son recently picked this up and it was generally sold as is conditions. It didn't have a power cord, so that was kind of one issue, but he was really interested in this. He loved the red color, and this is actually from the 1980s. It's one of those old 1980s boomboxes. Now one of the neat things is you could actually remove the two speakers. So there's individual plugs right here, and you just kind of pull those out like that, and you could actually just clip this off and remove the speakers and then reinstall. So when my son got this, it did not have a power cord. It actually did not have a power cable that came directly out. There's a female end to a cord, and so that was one of the reasons he couldn't test it before he bought it. But these are pretty standard, although this is more of a rectangular one. It doesn't require a transformer, so any kind of power cable that works, and these kind right here are pretty standard. You have kind of a squared end here, round end there. You could also find them with kind of two rounded ends. So this kind of cable just works pretty well. I plugged it in and tested it out. And with it plugged in, we could just turn it on to, let's say, FM radio. And it seems to work just fine. The AM, FM, let's try the AM. Let's see.
So call right now, toll free. 9 minutes.
Tackle, the sophomore linebacker for Clemson.
So the AM, FM works pretty well. But I did discover an issue when trying to run the cassette tape. Now, the door will eject just with the stop eject button here. It doesn't require the door to be shut to operate. But as you can see, hopefully, when I hit play, let me zoom in here. Look at this sprocket right here. This is basically the driving sprocket there. I hit play, and it starts moving, but doesn't continue moving. You can kind of move it with your finger, but it really doesn't operate. And so, you know, you stick tapes in here and it starts eating tapes because there's a little bit of a spool up here that is running right now. And so it'll just kind of drag in the tape, but this little sprocket here won't take in the tape. So that's an issue. And so that's what I want to fix today. So the first thing to do is just to kind of take it apart. First, we want to remove the speakers. Just to get those out of the way, and those just kind of pop off like this and get removed. And then to try to figure out how to open up the back. Now it does have a battery compartment right here, and of course it uses those bigger D-size batteries. It looks like 6 of them. But the first thing to do is just to look for screw holes. Now I'm hoping once I open this up, it will be perhaps an old belt that could be easily replaced. If it's like a gear that has a broken tooth, that may be a bigger issue that we'll have to resolve. But basically, because I was able to move it a little bit, I think it might be a bad belt. So I'm hoping to open this up and see. But first, we have to kind of look for some screw holes. So it looks like we have some there, several of them. Of course, the corners here. So let's just remove some screws and see if we can get this back off. So it looks like I removed 6 screws. One was actually missing. And see if that actually did the trick. It looks like the faceplate might come off. And it does look like it's loose, so let's try this out. Just gently remove this faceplate, and sure enough, it does have some wires attached to it. And that's the inside of our little player. So it does look like this has a little plug here. Let's see if I can remove that easily. I can. It does look like this pin end here goes down, so I'll have to remember that. So that will help get that out of the way. And let's just see how this thing might work. So I'll zoom in a little bit here, and just playing around with it, I pushed the play button here and hit stop, and right when I did that, a little screw fell off, so that's not a good sign. So we have this little screw that fell off, so something's not attached well. So we'll examine it a little closer. Okay, so it looks like this entire cassette component can be removed. It looks like there's a little red lever here that if I push it back, this whole thing might come up. Make sure that everything's loose. Oh, there's another one on this side. So let's go ahead and release that one. That one's released. And then this one's released. And this whole thing apparently comes straight out. Okay, to assist in trying to figure this out, I went ahead and plugged back in that little plug I pulled out, and it's actually attached to power right now. I want to be very careful that I don't touch any metal parts together, but I just kind of wanted to see how this thing worked, and so let's just zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to hit the play button, and you can kind of see what happens here. This belt's moving, and this belt looks like it's pretty efficient, but as I play with that little let's see, as I kind of play with that center thing, zoom in a little bit more so you can see. It looks like there's a gear down there. It's not really running very well. So either things are really gunked up in there, or there's a bad belt. I'm hoping not a bad gear. But we'll need to remove some of these components so we could see what's underneath there. Okay, so I did unplug it again, and it looks like I will have to get this little kind of triangular plate off that maybe eventually holds this belt down. So it looks like there's just a flathead screw right here. So we'll go ahead and take that off. That aside, I still don't know what this little Phillips screw is for. Maybe it'll come to light and see if that will. Let's see, this looks like it just pops off just like that. And this helps hold this wheel down, which holds this belt. So I might be able just to take this off just by slipping it up. Possibly. So lifting it out, you can see that this wheel is attached to a couple of gears, and at least one of them right down here looks like there's one that's missing a number of teeth. Okay, so I'm hopeful that maybe I could find a replacement for this gear. Belts would be a lot easier, but the first step is to try to get this gear out of there, and this white gear is in front, and it looks like this white gear controls this little lever here. So as this spins around, it sort of moves that in and out, as you can see, just like that. And so I will probably have to lift this up first, out of the way, off that track. I think I should be able to just pop it out. There we go. And there we go. So this gear is out of the way. This is what the back looks like. This looks like it's in pretty good shape. And so this broken gear, hopefully, can just be lifted right out. And there you can see the broken teeth on it. Now there does appear to be some other fragments here. I think this might be part of the, well, these look a little bit big to be part of that gear we just removed. So I'm a little bit concerned there's another part that could be damaged underneath here somewhere. Let's see. Okay, so after examining this for a little bit, I think I know what's going on. So the damaged gear was down here, was installed right here, and interacted with this larger white gear right here, and that is what broke these teeth right there. But there was also kind of attached to this gear kind of smaller teeth that were right around here, which essentially are the results of, or the residuals of these little fragments that I kind of picked out. And so this first gear that I took out right here that controlled this little arm here actually interacted with this higher portion of this gear and went around here. So this gear actually helped connected with that large gear and this gear right here. Now this is going to be a little harder to find. It's not just a simple gear, it's actually two gears in one. So this might be a little more difficult to find still for sale. Okay, so I did do some searching on the web, Googled some things, but I eventually found on eBay possibly the gears I'm looking for. And blowing this up right here, you can see that there are sets of typically like 3 gears, and these are basically the 3 gears that are yellowed in the unit. The whiter gears in the unit seem like they're strong plastic, but the yellow ones seem like they're brittle and are breaking down. And so these typically in Philips and Magnavox, these are probably some problem gears, and so they are selling these on the web. And I can get them from the Czech Republic or even Poland. I think I saw some selling from Israel. Nothing in the United States, but they are a little expensive. So I was kind of focused on this one. I think here's the gear that I think was damaged. You can see this one, and it has the slanted teeth on the bottom, the straight teeth on top. This is the one that kind of popped out. The other 2 are those 2 other yellow gears that I think I will also replace since they do seem brittle. So I think I'll go ahead and order this one. It will likely come in a few weeks. So I'm going to have to log off, and I will see you after they arrive. And so, welcome back to the future. Well, it has been several weeks, and all the way from Poland, as you can see here, I did receive this little green little case. It's and hopefully it has the gears in it. And sure enough, it does have the 3 gears. It's kind of a nice little case. Well, for 17, 18 bucks, I would expect them to gift wrap it, but there you have it. There's my order from Poland. And so let's see if we got what we were hoping to receive. First of all, here's those 2 remaining gears inside the unit. And sure enough, it does look like this bigger gear is a similar match there. And then we have a smaller gear here. As you can see, I can't see the back of it, but I assume it kind of looks like that. This one is indeed about the same size. Now, after thinking about it for a while and examining these 2 gears, they still look like they're in pretty good shape. They might be a bit brittle, but I really don't want to try to force them and pop them out and replace them right now, especially since they seem like they're still in good shape. So I think I'll just save these for a future time. So if these do break, we have the gears to replace them. But now for the gear we're really interested in. This is the one that we were hoping to replace originally. And as you can see, it had broken teeth here, broken teeth there, and this is the replacement gear that we received. Now, originally I thought it was slightly a different size because if you kind of go back to back, the new gear looks slightly larger than the old gear, but that's just because these teeth are much sharper and these ones have kind of been dulled out. Now the height is a little bit different. I'm hoping that that won't matter that much, but the top gear looks similar from the fragments I took out of the unit. It looks about the same. So we're gonna install this and hope that any size variation is not that significant. So let's go ahead and reverse the process and get this new gear in. Okay, so we're just reversing the process. So this gear just kind of was set in here just like that. Did it snap, or I think it's kind of in there now. Just with some finger pressure. It doesn't really engage in this gear. I'm wondering if when you're hitting the different record play options, this gear may actually move to engage that gear, but it appears like it doesn't engage directly. So we got that one in. The next gear is this upper gear right here with the tracks in it. So we want to make sure we get that in carefully. Kind of stick it underneath here. Make sure I got it. Oh, I think. Actually, let me verify. I think it came out this way. So it looks very similar sides, but I think these little clips here was on the upright position if I don't remember correctly. So let's just try that. Make sure I get that in place there. And then snap it in place like that. And then lift this little up here to engage in the tracks. And then as this moves, hopefully everything will work. So that's moving. Oops. There we go. Maybe that's the correct direction. There we go. And this gear seems to move that gear just fine. I don't want to force it, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so we got that gear in. Okay, so next we want to put in this large wheel that essentially holds this belt in place. And when I originally took it out, I didn't really pay attention to what it was connected to, but now I can see that our newly replaced gear here, these angle teeth right here, apparently engage with this black gear that's attached to the wheel. And this upper white gear that looks like it spins a little bit independently. I'm not sure if it's actually, I don't know why it would be engaged here, but maybe it's engaged with this belt here, but I'm not exactly sure. But this little piece here kind of wiggles and maybe fits in down there. Now this little tip here will poke out on the other side here where it actually engages with the tape. So this is actually in contact with the tape as it goes around. So we'll go ahead and see if we can kind of fit this in gently. Kind of fit it in, spin it a little bit. Well, it's pretty loose, but it does, let's see. Okay, it does seem like it's engaging this wheel, so it must be in contact. I don't really see it moving anything else, but you have to remember that this is held in place with this triangular piece, so it is a little wobbling now, but once we get this thing in place, hopefully everything will kind of stabilize out. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this belt in place. I'll just put it around the big wheel here and then hold this big wheel in place and then just engage it to this one right here. Just like that. So as this moves, it engages. This is apparently the motor there. So we have that, and then we'll go ahead and let's see, this looks like it has some shapes there. Make sure it doesn't look like it necessarily goes in any particular way. So we'll go ahead and fit this in under here like that, and then wiggle this bigger wheel till it kind of fits in place. And there, it seems like it's holding well. So let's go ahead and grab that screw that came out of there, which again was that flathead screw. Stick that there. And not too tight, but tight enough. There we go. And as we spin this, that works. And that belt is still moving. Perfect. So as I've been putting this back together, I have been referring back to the photos and of course the video that I took to make sure that I don't miss anything. And one of the things that interested me in this stage was this little wire here that looked like a little spring. Let me zoom in and see if I can show it to you a little bit better. It's right here. So looking at my past videos, it looked like this actually fit into this little plastic slot right here. And as this slot moves around with this gear here, the spring helps control the motion of that. And as you can see, the spring, this wire is actually on the right side of this. So what I want to do is try to carefully get this in the right position. So I think it fits in. Like that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So as this moves, you can see it kind of controls that little plastic spring there. So I think it's working correctly. And as you can see, this little spring is helping guide this little plastic piece as it moves. There you go. So just as a reminder, refer back to any photos you took while you dismantle it. So when you put it back together, you don't forget anything. Okay, so if I recall, we have to flip this whole thing over. Again, I've unplugged it. And then let's make sure all these wires are in the right place. And I believe I just kind of, there's a hole there, and they kind of fit into little holes there. And of course, remember these little springs right here on top and bottom. They sort of hold those in place. So we'll go ahead and fit them gently. And then make sure all these wires are out of place. Let's see. This appears in place. This appears in place. And everything looks like it's fitting properly. So I think we got the mechanism in okay. Make sure all these wires are generally where they're supposed to be. Like that. That's good. So next, of course, it was this plug. I remember these little exposed portions are down. And so we want to plug that in where it goes. Like that. Now, here's a little bit of a tricky. Now, this is the dial. I believe that's the dial. So when we spin the tuner handle here, this little piece goes round and round here. And so that fits in. This is directional. So I just want to make sure how we stick that in. So if we look at this little wheel here, it looks like it has a little slot here and a little slot here, which appears to correspond to these here. So we just want to make sure that, I think I'll put this up straight up and down and then dial this. So those are straight up and down to help that. Hopefully they don't need to be 180 degrees the other way, but we'll just try to see if we can fit this together like this. Might have to turn this wheel a little bit. Oh, there we go. It fits. I just kind of wiggled this and this end dropped. This looks like it's in the right position like that. Let's see, the ejector. Where's the ejector? This seems like it works okay. Everything, this seems like it moves. Everything kind of moves properly, has a resistance. So I think I have it shut properly. And so we'll turn it around and insert the screws. There we go. Now I never did figure out where this screw goes. I'll just save it. Maybe it'll come to me in the future if I ever have to open it up again. I'm not exactly sure which direction the speakers go. Maybe it doesn't matter. So we'll just go ahead and stick this in place. Okay, back, we've got these little plugs that will go ahead and plug back here. One there, one there, and then stick in the power plug. And then hopefully it'll work. Let's see, let's just test the radio first again. We'll go with FM. AM.
We have a cult. Especially if DAC, even though that game is...
Okay, that all works, so let's try a tape. I just randomly grabbed a couple that I had, some Alabama and some Billy Joel here. Hopefully these tapes still play. Again, they're magnetic, they degrade over the years, so let's just go ahead and, let's see, that's the top tape. So eject, stick them like that, hit play. Well, let's rewind first. Let's see, rewind. Seemed to work. Fast forward. Seems to work. Okay, let's see if it plays. Well, I think it works. It's a little loud. Something, maybe I need some to grease some things down, make things run a little bit better, but at least we got the tape working. So I hope this video helped you out, and if you enjoyed it, please hit that like button at the bottom of the screen, and even consider subscribing to my channel. I have many more videos to come. Bye-bye.